Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm gonna do another reaction to one of those silly online games. As you can see on the screen, we're gonna play the first chapter of The Billionaire's Baby. And this is from an app that has 50 plus million downloads. So yeah, why would a channel like mine care about these stupid, online games? Well, as you can see, what we're going to play today deals with the subject of surrogacy, and it's actually fusing together two of the things that, I'm an activist against: surrogacy, so reproductive exploitation, and some kind of sugar daddy line, except it's supposed to be a love story. And again, I'm not playing this because I expect it to be accurate. I expect it to be full of misinformation. I expect it to be romanticizing. I expect it wasn't written with the intention to educate. But again, 50 million downloads, and that's going to be mostly young people, mostly young girls and women. It's not like everyone has a cousin who was conceived through surrogacy or a cousin currently going through the process. So I hold the opinion that when it comes to these issues that just most people don't know a lot about, the media we consume absolutely shapes us. There's probably a lot of wars or something you've seen one documentary about, and that shapes your view of what happened in that conflict. For sure, it's gonna. We don't all have time to dive into every issue. It's particularly a problem here because, well, certainly egg donors are young women, college educated. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we go through the story. So this does help these very profitable operations, these surrogacy clinics, recruit people. They need it in the public that surrogacy is, a really, really well-paying affair, given the idea that this is, totally regulated, totally not exploitative, totally a good opportunity to get ahead in life. And there's usually also a propaganda around beautiful families. That's not what this is, because this is so insane. It tries to infuse billionaire romance in with the surrogacy line. It's you would hope that people playing this don't think it's realistic, but there's something particularly going on. There are messages here about women and men, about reproduction, women's role, romance, and I'm sure that I could pick 100, 1,000 more games with toxic messages. But yeah, since these relate to the two industries that I do most of my research and my activism on, I guess she's not on paper, a sugar baby, but that's the basic dynamic that I'm expecting. And already, if we take a look at this this cover, it's a woman of color and a white dude. Is not a great look. Let's just get started. Let's not do a super huge preamble. I'm sure we'll talk about a lot of things. There's probably something here to say about the race dynamics. We'll see. I didn't actually get around to talking about the race dynamics, so I'm just gonna inject here as I'm editing this. It's quite simple. Wealthy couples from the US, Europe, China go to poorer countries like they used to, Thailand and India, who have banned reproductive tourism because it became so exploitative. There was literal trafficking into this industry that, yeah, they banned foreign couples. And so the market moved to Latin America and I believe parts of Africa also. I know that people react negatively to big terms like neocolonialism, but if what's being done here isn't that, don't know what is. And of course, it's not any better if you stay locally in the US and you exploit somebody who is barely surviving, which statistically, yeah, is more likely to be a woman of color. Just as prostitution, it's basically the same population in Europe, for example, Eastern European women from Romania and Bulgaria. There was a case recently in Europe, in Crete, in Greece, only altruistic surrogacy is legal, and there was still literal human trafficking, literal forced pregnancy and forced birth in a surrogacy clinic in Crete, and the victims are from the exact same background as the women who staff the majority of our brothels. So Bulgarian, Romanian, and disproportionately often from the Roma minority. This game, says it's for 18 and over, but absolutely minors can click on this, and there's worse on the internet. Obviously, there's porn. Like, speaking of, as I was seeing the cover image, I was thinking, yeah, a little bit like pornification of pregnancy. Pregnancy is a porn genre. Pregnancy is an advertising strategy on prostitution websites, and that's not to say that pregnant women don't have a sexuality. Some women have a higher libido when they're pregnant. Some don't want to have anything at all. Some just want to cuddle. Like, it varies. But that's, for her to decide. And she's going to be extra vulnerable when she's pregnant. So if as a culture we could just find that middle ground where pregnant women are not totally desexualized, but we don't commercialize their sexuality, we don't pornify it would be great. Welcome to the Billionaire's Baby. Let's choose your look. And I've played one other game, and you know that I usually pick whatever the game is offering me, so I could now pick other races, like an Asian woman, maybe Latina, or a white woman, but I'm gonna go with what the game suggests. So if the game suggests it to me, a black woman, then that's what I'm gonna pick. Good choice. Now let's pick a hairstyle. Let's just go with what we had. And all done. What do you think? Great. I love it. What's your name? And this is in the last game, I just left the names that they had, but this time I am gonna, use a name that I had in mind for this occasion, and the people who get it, get it. What's your last name, Larson? Yeah, sure. That's a pretty terrible name now. If you, translate it literally, yeah. But that was on purpose, I guess. All right. Your heart squeezes as you apprehensively watch the screen. Dr. Perry, your OBGYN, stands at the ready with the ultrasound wand. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, as women who've been to the gynecologist, well, that's going to be hopefully most women or all women watching this. It's just, it's so uncomfortable. And we know there's a whole history with gynecology where it used to be female dominated for pretty obvious reasons, and it was taken over by medical doctors over centuries. And we still have midwives, but it's, there's a huge lack of midwives, certainly in Germany. I'm sure that's the case in most countries. And just the instruments that you have walking into the gynecologist, the instruments that are going to be used to, observe or study your gynecological and medical situation were not developed, in mind with what's most comfortable for women or what makes them feel safest. And there certainly are women who have severe medical trauma or sexual trauma for whom going to the gynecologist is very hard. And that is also connected with the whole atmosphere is not woman-centric. The instruments aren't. Yeah, I'll post links down below. I'm not an expert on all of these subjects, like the history of gynecology, certainly not. I just have very rudimentary knowledge, and I'll post some info by people who really know their stuff there. Dr. Perry, are you ready to meet the baby? Afrit says, well, she looks shocked. She doesn't look ready, so can I have 10 more seconds? Just, it's really hot in here, right? Maybe I should take a walk. Your rambling is interrupted by a strong but gentle hand drawing soothing circles on your belly. How can one caress be so soothing and yet so stimulating? Again, not a medical expert, but from what I've read, there are situations where women will actually masturbate or have some degree of sex with their partners to induce labor and to massage the area. That is a thing, but would you be getting it on with your significant other in the hospital room? Again, I agree pregnant women's sexuality is something that we should talk about and something to destigmatize and get real about, but not something to pornify. So this, I feel uneasy about this. Just the slightest touch sends goosebumps racing up your arms, just as it has Since the day you met, you look up into the eyes of whose touch do you feel, a man's or a woman's? So I had a friend alert me to this horrible game, and she said, "What you can also be a surrogate who was hired by two lesbian moms," and that's a thing that does happen, but it's incredibly rare. So it's obviously the chance of two people being infertile or two people being totally unwilling to go through pregnancy if they're both women is unlikely, and so it's very unlikely. You know, the female lesbian billionaire is the one exploiting this woman for surrogacy and then romancing her. Like, it's... So we're gonna go with man. Okay, this is the guy who was on the cover, so I'm probably gonna go with him. Okay. Or we could pick a woman. Yeah, I don't know. This guy. I mean, he was on the cover, so I guess... Is that like racially ambiguous guy if this is white guy? I don't know. This just like looks like tanned white man to me. I'll just pick this. Enter his first name, Cole. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the names that they suggest. Cole Stone. That makes him sound like his name is Cold Stone. That's so weird. Okay, that's a terrible name. Let's go with it. It's just the nerves. Trust me, you're doing great. Your eyes linger on his strong jawline, then trail down to admire his muscular arms. You ache to be held by them. If only we were alone. This might be a male fantasy and again a porn category, but like women do not get stimulated at the gynecologists. Like that's not a thing that happens in real life. Like it's like the most asexual, like you're just uncomfortable and you're glad when it's over, and this is like a really weird situation to sexualize. Like nobody likes being in a hospital. Like this is not a place where like a normal, sane, regulated person has like a strong sexual reaction, especially during an exam. Dr. Perry spreads the ultrasound gel over your skin, then presses the transducer against it. After a moment, she points to the screen. Okay, Dr. Perry, there's your baby. Can't believe it, Baby Stone. Why is his name Stone? It just sounds so weird. Baby Stone. And obviously, his name, not us. It's not Baby Larson or Baby Stone Larson. Dr. Perry, you are having a girl. And yeah, like here's where the brigade could come. That'd be like, that's a little early to start imposing roles, right? Monty Python style, but yeah, you can with reasonable accuracy observe the sex in utero. And this is absolutely where millions of girls have been sex selectively aborted. And just to be clear, and this might come up during this whole event, I'm 100% pro-choice. So I would want to change the circumstances in the country so that women feel they can give birth to girls, that girls are valuable, that girls are equal to boys and all those things. Yeah, it's complex family dynamics, cultural dynamics that lead to sex-selective abortion. But the point being, we can be like, oh, let's not start imposing roles. Let's not like put the child in a category. Reality is sex is real, it's observable, and it has consequences. People even treat, the actions of babies in utero differently based on what sex they think is there. Like they think, oh, if it's kicking a lot, must be a boy. I've heard a woman say that, like a woman who had given birth to 3 children, say like if it kicks strongly, it's a boy. I mean, that's a lot of people don't want to know the sex of their baby, and there's reasons for that. But there's a different thing to say, let's not put lots of weight on the sex and let's pretend that sex isn't real, right? 2 different things. She's perfect. Cole leans over and presses a kiss to your forehead. When he speaks, his eyes are locked on yours. This is all so perfect. I've never wanted anything more. His hand finds yours and he squeezes, anchoring you to his moment with him and your baby. That's one of the things that they teach surrogates in clinics. Oh my God, this is so creepy. Is this how you think of, like, does this guy strike you as a billionaire? Like, where did he make his money? Ugh. But this is what they teach a lot of surrogates. They have like literally like training where women sit in circles in summer surrogacy clinics, repeating over and over, it's not my kid, it's not my kid, it's not my kid, to try and diminish the emotional bonding that does happen during a pregnancy that you will intend to carry to term. To prevent that, they have to dissociate from their motherhood. This is like everything that a surrogacy clinic wouldn't want you to do. It certainly wouldn't want you to do anything with the genetic dad or the hiring dad or whatever. I mean, they could be using a sperm donor, but I'm pretty sure in this case they aren't. And wouldn't want you to become romantically involved, and wouldn't want you to think that it's your baby, because you're going to have to give it up and never see it again. They might not even put it into your arms after giving birth, like even once, because you do not want to have bonding there. Totally non-traumatizing to kids. Like, if you have paid for it, that process is non-traumatizing. That's what surrogate advocates would suggest. Cole. I mean it, Offred. You've made me happier than I could have ever dreamed. I only wish. His hands grip yours more tightly as he leans in. Automatically, you shift towards him, your body always hungry to be closer to him. Again, the Dr. Perry's right there. You only wish? But the tender moment is interrupted when the exam door swings open with a clatter. Cole draws back as a gorgeous woman strides in. Again, like intimate exam, people just come in. Okay, I'm having Monty Python flashbacks. Cole, honey, I've been looking for you everywhere. Did you really think I'd miss the chance to see my baby? And there's the commissioning mother, I presume. Yeah, so a love triangle with the surrogacy, the commissioning father and the commissioning mother, or the commissioning man, the commissioning woman, intended parents. 5 months earlier, the day of your interview to be a surrogate. Okay, but then she like got pregnant like immediately. Like there are IVF cycles, right? And it could take a while for the pregnancy to catch on. There's like this 5-month timeline assumes that she was just so fertile, it just worked immediately. That sounds a bit implausible to me. 5 months earlier, the day of your interview to be a surrogate, because your background is screened. The commissioning parents, not so much. You just gotta have some dough. You lean over the counter of the surrogacy clinic and your best friend Demi works at, but it's not a social visit. So this couple, tell me about them again. Offred Larson, could you actually be nervous? Why would I be nervous? I've interviewed to be a surrogate dozens of times. I'll have you by my side. I'm way too desperate to be nervous. Why is she desperate? What does she need the money for? Let's go with that. Rent is due next week and they cut one of my shifts at the coffee shop. So this is exploitation. Like, this is reproductive exploitation. I know that lots of people are like, well, we all got to work for our money. So as long as it's legal, it's not exploitative. So if you are literally at the edge of homelessness and then you enter porn, prostitution, or surrogacy, you made a choice and you're a consenting adult. And I would disagree. I would say that these industries, they let themselves be romanticized in the media. They are around. They advertise, especially to poor college students or people who've graduated recently, and they're predatory. And especially a surrogacy, it's not like you can change your mind at any point and be like, yeah, abort. There'll be a penalty in your contract and all kinds of things. It's not like you get to change your mind. What kind of consent is this where you sign away your reproductive choices out of desperation to literally pay your rent? You telling me that's meaningful consent? No, it isn't. I'll cover your half if you need it. Exactly. When you can't pay your rent and you're lucky enough to have friends and family, it's not shameful to ask them for help when there's no other option. It's not shameful. But she's like, gotta be my own woman, so gotta sign away my reproductive rights, because that's a good decision. Offred, I know, but I don't want to keep leaning on you. I need to stand on my own 2 feet. It's like, I'm seriously waiting for these same game makers to just make the same story and just make it prostitution. They've done BDSM romanticization in a really, really dangerous way. Now they're doing surrogacy, and I'm just waiting for them to be like, let's straight up do this 18 plus book about prostitution. Forget standing. If you crush this interview, you'll be waddling soon. Ha 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 ha. Because pregnancy is, it's just like waiting tables. What's the difference? It's not like it's happening inside your body and you can't just stop at any time. They're totally the same thing though. Listen, I've been a doula at the clinic for a long time, and I know a cushy surrogacy gig when I see one. It's a gig. It's like a over 9 months commitment, dangerous to your health. You could die. You could become infertile. You could, carry a cesarean scar, this and that. But it's a cushy gig. Oh, yeah. And also, she's like grooming her own friend into this. Why isn't she doing it if it's such a great thing? The couple you're interviewing with is super high profile, super VIP, and super hot. Because we wouldn't want to carry ugly people's babies. It doesn't matter how hot they are, but exactly how hot are we talking? Yeah, this is a total normal conversation. Yeah, I know it's fictionalized, it's dramatized. The billionaire's baby is supposed to pull you in as like this forbidden breaking taboo story. But yeah, there will be absolutely like young people who read this story, and this is like the most in-depth engagement they ever had with the subject of surrogacy. They've not read a bunch of articles, they've not read scientific literature, they've not talked to people who've lived it, they've not talked to experts. It's not a realistic expectation. Anyway, they might see some headlines, some beautiful baby photos, and then they like play the game. And so, do you think they're playing this thinking this is unrealistic, this is critical, I gotta research this? No. So I do think that these have, again, cumulatively with the other media grooming, in my opinion, does have an effect. I think so. Scorching hot, surface of the sun hot. One's a tech savant and his wife's a literal supermodel, but honestly, they both belong at Paris Fashion Week. Wow, are you sure they're real? Maybe I shouldn't get my hopes up. What would a power couple like that want with little old starving artist me? And this is also like very popular, like if you are this free artistic spirit, then the sex industry of surrogacy is for you, because that's where like free women go with free bodies and free minds in the service of other people, taking risks to their health that could be lethal. That's what free women do. Instead of being like, well, our society really doesn't value artists. Now they got AI to deal with, even though AI is doing a pretty crappy job at a lot of things. And like an artsy kid is absolutely the kind who might be playing these kinds of games because they're like visually stimulating and stuff. Great message. Demi snorts sympathetically, coming around the desk to put her arm around your shoulders. You know the ropes, Alfred. Just treat this couple like any other and I'm sure you'll knock it out of the park. So like I mentioned, my friend started playing this and then she was like, oh my God, you got to react to it. And so my understanding from what she told me was Alfred does not have children yet, which makes no sense because most surrogate mothers are already mothers because you want to make sure that she can carry a pregnancy to term, that she is fertile. You don't want to throw a lot of money in IVF at a woman who maybe isn't. And so she should not just be, a starving artist. She should have a toddler at home. That'd be plausible. And this makes it sound like she's done this before. And so what actually has happened is that she has interviewed with other couples before, but she hasn't gone through the process. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got some birthing plans to review. Come find me when you're ready. Birthing plans, which again, very sensitive subject, where like women want to decide for themselves which medication might I want, how much pain relief, what position might I like to be in, what interventions can I flat out say I don't want. There's a lot of like women who have the time and energy and access to educate themselves about those different things and what a medicated or non-medicated home birth or hospital birth looks like. They make, very considerate decisions about that. But you've signed a contract where a bunch of those decisions, again, are not up to you. They're up to the commissioning couple or individual. So again, it's super empowering that you have like wealthy people telling women how to give birth and then taking the baby. It's like, what's not empowering there, right? As she walks away, you make your way to the counter and crumble against it. Come on, Offred. You've got this. Nail the interview, get the cash, and make all of your dreams come true. Again, just do OnlyFans for like a year and you buy a mansion, because that's real life. Excuse me? The voice is warm and deep and coming from right over your shoulder. You jump, knocking into the stranger and sending his coffee flying. Cliche meet cute. His coffee goes flying right towards you, splashing all over your carefully picked interview outfit. I'm so sorry. I've been trying to get your attention, but you seemed lost in thought. I was just... You finally look up, your gaze landing on him for the first time. No, it's on me. I was zoning out. Sorry, I got a lot on my mind. It's totally my fault. Here, let me help you. I think I have a cloth around here somewhere. He produces a neatly folded handkerchief. Before you can take it, he gets down on one knee and starts to rub at the stain. My mom always said that a spill is okay as long as you get it out before it can set in. He blots at the stains on your clothes before moving down to your shoes, his hands caressing almost reverently. Because she's the Madonna. In the sex industry, women are whores, right? And in surrogacy, they're Madonnas. And it's so nice to be a Madonna. It's not dehumanizing to be seen as the life-gifting angel who exists in total sacrifice. Aside from the fact that a lot of commissioning couples and individuals mistreat the surrogates emotionally and physically when they force them to go through things that the surrogate mother doesn't want. Thank you. He gets to his feet before you can dwell in the fantasy of the sight of this gorgeous man on his knees in front of you. Did I miss a spot? Oh, I do feel a little wet here. We're not going to do like this disgusting flirting, like not in this situation, because we already know that's going to be the sugar daddy surrogate commissioning dude guy. You've done more than enough. Really, most people would throw out a week, I'm sorry, and get on with their day. He looks almost bashful despite how confidently he had gotten on his knees to help you. I guess I'm not most people. His smartwatch chimes as he gets a notification. You glance at the clock yourself. Shoot, my interview's about to start and I'm a total mess. You don't want to leave Mr. Sexy, but you also don't want to show up to the interview with a stain. I'm sorry, I have to go. You race to a nearby boutique where you manage to pull together something with enough polish for an interview and just enough bang to make an impression. Yeah, we are not going to spend any diamonds on that. I don't have time to wait around in line. Instead, you put back your picks and duck into the restroom, doing your best to clean up as the time ticks down. You rush breathlessly back to the clinic where Demi is waiting for you. Where the hell have you been? Need I remind you, the most important interview of your life starts in 1 minute. Please, please don't. I'm nervous enough and well... You gesture at your clothes. Demi loops her arm through yours and steers you towards the interview office. Don't worry, you look great. I can barely notice the coffee stains. Like, her salary depends on women like Offred, sacrificing themselves for this whole business. That's like where her salary comes from. This is like not if I ran a cafe and I hired my friend who was jobless, and if I worked at a surrogacy clinic and hired my friend to like risk her life for strangers, those are not the same thing. They're waiting right behind this door. You're gonna do great. She gives you a thumbs up as she backtracks down the hall and you brace yourself before pushing the door open. Offred, good to see you again. I'd like you to meet. You freeze in the doorway, your gaze meeting Mr. Coffee spilled all over you. His gaze lights up in delight when he sees you. We meet again. You. Hello, do the two of you know each other? This is like regressive on 100 levels. Just your luck that the most attractive man you've ever seen happens to be part of the couple you're interviewing with, and this must be the wife. She's just as beautiful as Demi said, even with a scowl on her face as she looks you up and down. Well, does someone want to fill me in on the joke? Relax, darling. We met informally out in the lobby. We didn't even get a chance to exchange names. The sexy stranger rises and crosses the room to you to shake your hand. The second your fingers meet, you can feel the same magnetic pull from earlier again. I'm Cole Stone. Terrible name. Terrible name. I just gotta laugh. Like, who calls their kid Cole Stone? You're Cole Stone, and I hear you're in the market for a baby. That's very honest. And you're married. Yeah. I mean, married men flirting isn't anything new. You shake his hand once, firmly and decisively, before quickly pulling your hand away. Then I'm your girl. I'm Offred. And I'm Daphne, in case anyone cared. Cole gives you a wary smile before returning to his place at the table. He moves to kiss Daphne's cheek, but she turns to you instead. Well, wonderful. Now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, can we get on with it? Of course, Mrs. Stone. Offred, we've already gone over the in vitro process and passed your physical, because Offred has to give them all kinds of information about her medical history, her family history, like if she's ever been to therapy, intimate details, but they don't have to give the same to her. The embryos will have my genes in the donors. Daphne can't contribute for medical reasons. So he's the genetic dad, but the Daphne, the commissioning mother, is not. So imagine that baby's born, so that she has 3 mothers: the egg donor, the woman who gave birth, and Daphne. I'm sure that's going to raise 0 identity issues. It's not like sperm donor kids who are related to the mom who birthed them don't already tell us that can be a complicated, painful, difficult thing. But I'm sure like 3 moms is not going to be confusing at all. And even if I could, I'm a model. My career would be in shambles for months after the delivery. And that's the unrealistic thing. Like, we see an increase, again, like surrogacy is for the rich, and it's also for those who don't want to spoil their bodies, right? Models, actresses who can't afford to like take a break to give birth, or even be with the infant, because obviously once the kid's out there, who's like, if you don't have the time and you'd want to subject your body to pregnancy and birth, do you think they're going to spend a lot of time raising the infant? They're going to wake up in the middle of the night? Do you think they're going to get a bunch of nurses? I think the latter. I agreed to having a baby, not to ruin my body in the process. All that bloating during the egg retrieval process. No, thank you. Yeah, and not only is the egg donation part, which we don't see, like we don't even know who this egg donor is, the genetic mother, is it, exhausting, painful? It can actually kill you in extreme cases. And these risks are quite downplayed, actually, to the egg donors. I'll post some info about that down below. If chosen, we'd like you to move into our house. We'd pay all your expenses, plus give you a stipend in addition to the surrogacy fee. I could be wrong here, but I don't think surrogates on the whole move in with the couple. That would be emotionally confusing. It's already emotionally confusing when people are related, when they're families. So some people have like very little contact or no contact with the surrogate mother. Some do like call her a lot on the phone, or like have video calls, or they might drop by. And some, women in the process of surrogacy appreciate that. They feel looked after, although that will temper off once the baby's born. It's unlikely they'll keep in contact for life. And that, breaking off of contact can be quite painful. But moving in, like, that's such an obvious recipe for disaster. I do not believe that happens in real life. On the other hand, that gives them maximal control over that woman. So some surrogacy contracts stipulate things like, can the woman leave her state? What kind of food can she eat? Can she have sex with her partner? Can she do certain kinds of sport? And I guess if the woman's in your house, you can really make sure she's not like secretly partying or something, like, And the money she gets, would pay for her living expenses and the kids she already has, which I believe most, if not all, surrogates are already mothers. You also have to stay with us for a few months after the birth to breastfeed the baby, obviously. that does happen. I think women like do like sell their milk, or they might do this breastfeeding, but again, it's like quite high risk. The commissioning parents might again want to avoid the bonding that happens naturally when you're breastfeeding kids. You can bond with babies who are not yours when you breastfeed them. Like, things do happen there. I believe this does happen in surrogacy processes, but I think it's more on the unusual side overall. That all makes sense to me. That's like what kings had way back when. Like, their wife gave birth and then the breastfeeding was outsourced to someone else. It's like an archaic, patriarchal, exploitative tradition. Free room and board in a swanky house for a year? Where do I sign? She doesn't realize, like, she's walking to the lion's den and she's going to be controlled 24/7. That's what that would entail in real life. All that's left at this point is for the three of you to get to know each other. Normally, we have a guided list of Daphne cuts her off with a sharp wave of her hand. I'll ask the questions. You moved here to Seattle from Alaska a few months ago. You're young. Why choose now to become a surrogate? Well, in that case, I'll leave you to it. Becoming a surrogate helps me see true love in action. Dive back into my art career. Travel the world. Yeah, women become surrogates because they love to see the happiness of other people. Some do state this as their motivation, but like, what kind of immense self-sacrifice is that? Kind of extreme. Again, suggesting that this is something helpful for the artistic kids struggling to get into the business. Or again, she's just the free spirit who wants to travel the world, and this is like a totally healthy, normal, sane way to finance that. Let's go with this because it's just the most honest. Like, we didn't hear about any other motivation from her. She's like trying to avoid homelessness. Instead of long shifts at the cafe, I could finally have the time and energy to paint. When you're pregnant, you can have lots of energy and free time. Guess again. Cole nods his support, but Daphne's eyes narrow. Did the agency give you a copy of the forbidden list my mother came up with? All the things you won't be allowed to do as our surrogate. This does actually happen. There are real surrogacy contracts that tell women like what hobbies they can participate in. Like, the fumes from oil paint or something might do something to the fetus. You shake your head and Cole shoots you a sympathetic look as Daphne pulls a thick folder from her designer tote. Okay, so Alfred has like no idea what she's getting into. It looks very comprehensive. Oh, it is. Daphne opens the folder and reads aloud from the first page. We'll start with the obvious. No drinking, no smoking, no drugs. I'd never do any of that while pregnant. No raw fish, no unpasteurized dairy, no undercooked eggs, no soft cheeses, including but not limited to brie, camembert, gorgonzola. Daphne, that list is... I guess you realistically have to stay polite. Impressive. Your attention to detail shows how much you care about your baby to be. I'll have no problem following it. Read the contract first before signing. I'm happy to hear it because I expect strict adherence. And it could be like penalty when you break stuff. Like, you can be in deep legal trouble with this like much wealthier couple. Really dangerous position to be in. Go easy, Daphne. You're gonna scare her off. Well, excuse me for caring. Sure, fine. Let's do everything Cole's way. That's not what I'm saying. I only meant that witnessing true love in action. Daphne rises from her chair promptly, slinging her purse over her shoulder in a huff as she storms towards the door. I'm so sorry, Alfred. She's just flown in from Milan, and with the time difference and all, I'll be right back. I mean, this is also a thing that happens. These celebrity couples break up while there's a bun in the oven somewhere halfway around the world, in Ukraine and Mexico, wherever. And then they're like, can we cancel our order? Or in California, like lots of like Chinese couples order in California, then they break up. And it's like, oops, can we still cancel that baby order, please? There's a void of silence as Cole follows her out of the room and you slump into your chair. I guess the interview's over. You wait in the room for what feels like forever. When it becomes clear the Stones aren't planning to return, you decide to head home. A light rain starts to fall, but you hardly notice. Your thoughts linger on Cole and the spark you felt when you first met. What was that? Cole said Daphne was having a bad day, but the way Cole reacted made it seem like that happens a lot. Poor Cole, he doesn't deserve to be treated like that, especially when he's so... You stop walking to shake the thought away. Oh, right, like, so no, Daphne's abusing him. And that's totally something that you should get embroiled with. Sounds mega healthy. He's someone else's husband, regardless of him being absolutely perfect. For you. Afrin, wait please. Speaking of the devil, Cole jogs towards you through the mist, not seeming to care as the moisture seeps into his designer clothes. You again. We've got to stop meeting like this. Did you come to formally reject my application? I think your wife made it pretty clear that I'm not your girl. My wife, well, today wasn't a great first impression, but it doesn't matter. I see something in you. I'm really glad I caught you. I went back to the room to finish our interview, but you weren't there. You still want to interview me? Of course. It's my fault. I know how cranky Daphne gets when she flies. I've just been so desperate to finally get things moving. There's nothing more in the world that I want than this baby. I might not know you well yet, but my instincts are telling me you're going to make that happen. There's something about you. Oh, this is a healthy start. Heat rises in your cheeks, your eyes darting to his lips before you remind yourself he's off limits. I really want to make that happen for you, for both of you. Totally not because I'm on the edge of homelessness. Great, excellent, but if we're doing this interview over again, maybe we can do it somewhere with a little less rain. There's a great lunch spot out by the water. I go to be alone sometimes. Daphne doesn't like the chill breezes that blow in from the water, but I think it's refreshing. Sounds amazing. So lunch on me? I promise to throw you way more softballs than Daphne would have, and I promise you can ask me anything in return. Yeah, just head home. We're not going to go on a date. It doesn't seem right to do an interview without Daphne here. Maybe we can reschedule? At least let me give you a ride home. It's the least I can do after the drama I put you through today. You gaze up at him, the water clinging to his hair, but he doesn't look uncomfortable at all as he waits intently for your answer. Okay, sure, beats the rain, right? My car's right over there. You also don't get into cars with strangers, but yeah. When Cole drops you off at your place, he insists on walking you to the door despite the rain picking up in full force. Thanks again for the ride, but you don't have to walk me up, especially in this rain. It's not a problem. We'll make a run for it and outrun the droplets. You laugh, sinking easily into a playfulness you haven't felt with many people. He hops out of the car to open the door. Another thing I was just thinking, like, why the fuck are these two people together? Like, why doesn't he find a woman who wants to have a child? Instead, just hire someone. Like, they're not compatible. If she doesn't want to have kids, they're not compatible. Like, okay. And I mean, the reason that I'm cold to offer that I'm alluding to the Handmaid's Tale is because you've got the wives, you've got the handmaids, you've got the Marthas, right? You got women for housework, you got women for sex, and you got women for reproduction. And this is all like divided up between different women. And he's like, Cole Stone is supposed to be so charming, but he's just like a romanticized version of one of the, powerful men in the Handmaid's Tale. Like, that's what this categorization of women is doing. Except, of course, here it's going to get muddy, and then he's going to be like, oh, I actually love my handmaid, and I want her to be my wife also. Ugh. Cole takes your hand, and the two of you run through the downpour, laughing like kids as the rain coats you both. What I say, not a drop on us. He shakes his head, sending droplets down around the both of you. Stop, you're getting water all over me. With a laugh, Cole stops, reaching out to gently push strands of wet hair out of your face. Oh no, look at us both. His hand lingers on your cheek, and despite knowing you shouldn't want him, you lean into his warmth. He hesitates. You're drawn into his magnetic gaze, to the heady promise of what could have been. Offred, I know I shouldn't say this, but I can't help feeling. Cole, I know what you mean. He searches your eyes, inching closer ever so slowly. I should... Are they gonna kiss now? Already, after knowing each other for like, what, an hour and a half? You're probably throwing away any chance at the surrogacy gig, but you're helpless to do anything else. As you get closer, the heat of his body curls around you. Oh, Fred. Your heart beats a thundering rhythm in your ears. He bends his head and your lips are a hair's breadth apart. Cole's smartwatch buzzes, snapping you both out of the heady moment. He frowns when he checks, pulling out his phone, and you can hear Daphne screeching through the other end. Home, 30 minutes ago. Where are you? Cole glances at you and your gaze falls to your feet instinctively. You're way too close to crossing the line with him just now. I ran into the woman we interviewed earlier, the one that you walked out on. He turns his back and paces a few steps away. I know what you said, but I'm in this too, Daphne. What I want matters too. Maybe I should bow out. I don't want to be the cause of any tension. Like that tension wasn't pre-existing. But as you're about to tell Cole, so his eyes lock on yours once more resolutely and you find yourself unable to speak. No, Daphne, cancel them all. We don't need any other interviews. I want this one who can be my surrogate and my sugar baby. I found a surrogate. It's Offred, and that's final. Kill me now. Yeah, so that was the first chapter. It was really icky. Like, this is really, 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 really icky. You shouldn't move into a billionaire's house that you've known for an hour and a half under any circumstances, or any stranger for that. It's like any suggestion that surrogacy will change your life for the better, it'll make all your dreams come true. You make that beautiful couple's dreams come true and your own. That is how it's sold, for egg donors, college students, and for the younger moms. Often military wives, like their husband's away, they're struggling. So and they already have kids, and then they opt for surrogacy to literally keep the lights on. It's not going to pay for your journey around the world. If you consider that surrogacy is more than 9 months of 24-hour labor, because growing a kid is a 24/7 process. The pay is abysmal. And again, the thing that is realistic about this is that horrible contract. A rich person can absolutely find an agency in a state, like in the US, in a state that is favorable to them and demand all kinds of things. And there are leftists out there who will say that is an expression of the autonomy of the woman to sign her contract about what she can eat, what kind of sports she can do, how she can travel, when she can have sex. That is a form of empowerment and autonomy, and also a gay rights issue. We could have had a lesbian couple here, but obviously mostly focused on gay men. And just this whole idea that there is a right. If you really, really want a child, you've got a right. And obviously rich people have been going around forever to third world countries to adopt kids who in dubious orphanages. And they're my understanding of adoption is you want to avoid it at all costs. You want to, if you can, if there's a safe home of a relative, a grandmother, an aunt, whatever, if you can place the child there, that's what you should do. If that's not possible and adoption is inevitable, then that should be a very carefully controlled process, especially with infants, but kids of any age. And that kind of safety measure that's focused on the child does not exist in surrogacy. The child doesn't have any rights. The surrogate has limited rights. So there are some places where the surrogate can say, no, actually, I don't want this, I don't want that. Medical intervention, may even have some maternal rights that she actually has to sign away. They're not, that's a more complicated process. And then it does sometimes happen that the commissioning parents are oh my God, we're going to get a baby. And then for various reasons, at different points in the process, it doesn't happen. And they're damn, we got to go somewhere else where the women, we can control them better. And I mean, there's lots of sensitive things to say. Being childless when you really want a child can be very painful. It's not to downplay that pain. And the same, being sexless and partnerless is painful. Is there's no debate. Of course it is. But since you require the most intimate parts, spaces, processes of other people's bodies, nearly always women, it cannot be a right. It cannot be a right. And even if it's not a right, like you've got a right to a handmaid. Just the fact that the economic situation makes it such that de facto that's the power that you can have over someone. It is exploitative. It's not progressive. It's not the future of humanity. Well, it's not the one that I want, that lots of people want. Just consider how many women are still like dying in childbed. Like, yeah, we're decreasing that number on average globally, but it's still abysmally high, especially in the US. If like people actually care about mothers and kids and happy families, so much we could be doing. That's not like having rich people be able to order babies on the push of a button, including, you know, as many babies as they like, sex selected as they like, egg donor genes selected as they like. And like no matter how many women like get sick or die in the process. And can you find individual stories where like it was a surrogacy for like the woman did it for her sister and the sister was consistently supportive and did not pressure her to do anything, and they're still in contact, and the child that's genetically her nephew or niece, but that she gave birth to, that she's in regular contact and she's fine, and like there was no medical complication and no familial strain or anything. Out there, that story will exist. That's not the point. The point is not, is there a system that's really, really not conducive to women's well-being? Quite the opposite, that some women do okay in. Yeah, of course. Same with prostitution. Like out there somewhere are some cases of that are neutral or positive. But just the extent of potential for exploitation is so big and it's so personal. Like infant mother separation. We don't even do that to kittens and puppies. But we'll do it to humans and say it'll leave no impact on the baby or the woman who we don't really want to call a mother because like, I mean, pregnancy and birth, when you've paid for them, they're basically meaningless. I have another video on surrogacy where I go through like the feminist critique of surrogacy and like the main arguments as I understand them. This is still a subject I'm learning about. So, and like a proper surrogacy expert would probably be able to spot a lot more things about this. But let's not let this video get too long. Thank you for watching this. If you want, I can do another episode. But like I said, I'm not as deeply read up on surrogacy as I am about prostitution, so that's why I was initially a little hesitant to do this and don't think it'll be like a long series. But if there's lots of interest, I might do it. And also if you've seen like games that deal with the sex industry or whatever, not something like super pornographic, like I don't want to read that or show that, but just something that's out there that are like our girls and young women are playing for entertainment, not thinking about it too much, but cumulatively potentially still has an impact on what they think these industries are. You feel free to send that to me and I might take a look. Yeah, that's it for today. Bye.